and that the progress or the process is ongoing.
Thank you. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Steil is now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Inspector General Bolton. Thank you for being with us once again. Both your flash reports and the honorary report recommended that Capitol Police shift from being a police force to a protective force. Can you provide an example of protective forces that you have in mind?
It would be something similar along the lines of, let's say, the Secret Service, where they have the uniform division. They have the ability to reach out and for training, intelligence, where it's a full-fledged counter surveillance. All the other elements are within that.
And so then, building on that, do you think that type of change is possible with the Capitol Police? And how should the Capitol Police begin to make this shift?
I certainly believe the Capitol Police is more than capable of making that shift. Part of that would be having the infrastructure. Now, I spoke with this on previous hearings. Even if we hire 1,000 officers, we were magically able to produce them. It really doesn't, if we don't have the infrastructure training, if we're not training the officers, not just the initial training, the basic, but the continuous educational training, and gear our training towards a protective model as opposed to a police department, then we're not going to accomplish our goals. We need to be thinking long-term and how to best provide the infrastructure for these officers to be properly trained and continuously trained, and not only that, but develop new or having the ability to see new and developing threats and tactics that they would need to employ.
And so then to build on the training aspect, it's my understanding that only about 12 out of 28 Capitol Police instructors are certified. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir, as far as I know.
And then do you believe that the best training structure would be to centralize this training? Or how else do you believe that this would work?
The only way, I believe, and this is speaking from being at the Office of Training with the Secret Service, as well as my Assistant Inspector General for Investigations, who did a stunt in Raleigh Training Center. If it's not centralized, it's doomed to fail. It has to be centralized at the Office of Training Service Bureau has to be there conducting all training from the highest level down to the lowest.
And how do you think that this type of a shift would be received by the men and women that are in service currently at the Capitol Police?
From the other previous hearings that I've attended and have heard, certainly the union has been a voice of wanting more training. So I would imagine that the rank and file would welcome this.
And to build on this, if we move forward with that recommendation, the Capitol Police begins to make this shift, what measurements of success should we be tracking and looking at?
That's kind of a hard, difficult. The measure of success is going to be how our officers respond to incidents. That would be how we would measure.
And so to build on this conversation, then with the Capitol Police, if we were to begin this change today, which changes do you think would require board approval, or which could just begin to be implemented under the current structure?
I think it's going to be more of a question of funds, having the available funds to start making that change. I don't believe that they would need Capitol Police Board approval to ramp up and start conducting with the training out in Cheltenham, doing what would be needed to enhance our training and to make it centralized. It would certainly just be more a question of funds.
So as you look at police reform generally, not just inside the Capitol Police, but do you believe that's generally it's a funding issue, or are there other aspects such as cultural shifts or board adjustments as well that would be needed?
Well, I can only speak on as far as with the Capitol Police, their programs and operations. It's going to be a fundamental shift in cultural change, as I spoke before, and additional funds. And it's going to, when I speak of cultural change, is where you are changing the way we conduct our own training and the thought process there.
Okay. One of the recent flash reports included information regarding the Capitol Police's lack of consistency in reviewing its standard operating procedures and internal policies. And we talked about this last time. Is the Inspector General, have you been experiencing additional difficulties in obtaining information regarding internal policies?
We have not had any difficulty in obtaining the policies or any materials or documents that we've requested from the department. They've been very helpful and timely in producing any documents we've requested.
Okay, so then how receptive do you believe the Capitol Police have been to your past recommendations?
For the most part, I would say they've been very receptive to our recommendations.
Okay, I appreciate your time today. I'm sensitive to the clock here. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back.